children's mother's aunt, who's the children's great aunt, Deidre Martinez, is with us.
Can you hear me?
I can, but you don't need to be saying anything right now.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking. I'm just reading off the names of the people, hopefully, that are on the list, and otherwise I'm going to be asking them who they are.
Okay.
Mr. Skowronek is the attorney for DFACS. Ms. Miller is the attorney and guardian ad litem appointed for the children. Ms. Duadu is the director of our CASA program. They all ran and hid. Ms. Duadu, do we have a volunteer? Oh, Ms. Vaughn. Okay, you didn't put CASA by your name, so I didn't know. Oh, there it is. I couldn't see it. It blended with the background and I couldn't see it. I'm sorry. All right. So Erica Fields, who are you, please?
I'm in the foster care unit for Henry County.
All right. Thank you. And Ms. Brinson is the attorney appointed for the mother, Destiny Ortiz. Ms. White is a supervisor with Henry DFACS. Ms. Emerald White, are you a case manager with DFACS?
Yes, sir.
We have somebody named Shy, no last name. What is your name, ma'am?
I'm Shayana Reels. I'm the cousin of Destiny Ortiz.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
And then we have Anna Bunger, who is identified on screen as foster parent. Is foster parent for all 3 children?
2 currently. We are expecting wisdom today or tomorrow, potentially.
Okay. And we have Ms. Vaughn, who's CASA appointed assistant representing the kids' best interests. And I have an iPhone gentleman. What is your name, sir?
David Cruz, the children's father.
CREWS, CRUE?
CRUZ.
CRUV?
CRUZ.
Z. Okay. Thank you. All right. Are you married to the mother, Destiny?
No.
You're not. Okay. Have you legitimated them in a court of jurisdiction here in Georgia would be Superior Court?
No.
Okay. All right. I think I already talked to Ms. Martinez and she moved before I could get through the screen. She moved to a different location.
I'm still here, Your Honor. Sorry.
No, that way you have no control over moving, at least as far as I know. Because I have some people here that if they could move their space, they would do it on purpose just to harass me and make it harder for me to keep up with them. Mr. Henley Parks is another supervisor with DFACS. There's nobody left in their office today. They're all here. And I skipped over somebody named Ms. Caldwell that says foster care case manager, which are you with some private agency that the department contracts with?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm the foster care agency for the foster parents.
And what is the name of your agency?
Families for Families.
Okay. All right. I think I introduced everybody. This is a probable cause hearing to determine whether there's probable cause to believe the children are dependent, and if so, whether they need to remain outside the care and custody of their parent during further proceedings, or whether they could be returned. And if there's no probable cause, then the case would be over. Well, I have somebody named Xavier Perez identified as the father of Wisdom and Zadian. Is that wrong?
Your Honor, that was what I had when I did the removal, and that actually information is not correct. Mr. Cruz was identified as the father of the 2 youngest children. The father of the oldest child is unknown.
I take responsibility for all 3, Your Honor.
Okay, give me your first name again, Mr. Cruz.
David.
Thank you. All right. The way we do this is the DFACS has to prove probable cause. This is a preliminary hearing, so they can present hearsay. You've probably watched Perry Mason and heard people object to hearsay, which is somebody who's not in court, somebody telling us what that person out of court said, and they're not here to be cross-examined. But we can do that in this hearing. So he's going to present their case, and then I'll let the lawyers ask questions of the witness or witnesses, and then we'll see where we are. Mr. Skowronek?
Your Honor, I've not had a chance to talk with Ms. Brinson since the removal on Friday morning. However, Ms. Brinson, given the fact that your client is not here, are you willing to enter into a stipulation that there is probable cause that the children are dependent children as set forth in the complaint?
I have not spoken with my client either. I haven't had that opportunity. And so I'm not really sure what the status is with her. Has she been served?
She wouldn't be served.
Oh, well, okay.
Emergency hearing.
You're right. So I'm not really sure.
She was in the hospital last Friday, I thought, or on the way to the hospital.
Right. So I'm not sure where she is now, whether she's been released, what her position is on this matter. So I wouldn't feel comfortable stipulating on her behalf.
Okay,
All right, that's fine. Ms. White, Ms. Emerald White, since you were the case manager on the removal, I assume, is that correct, Ms. Jennifer White? Because I know it was you that called me, so who do I need to call, you or Emerald?
Emerald was the case manager that responded to the hospital.
Okay, so Emerald, go ahead and state your name for the record.
Emerald White.
Can hardly hear
talk
you.
louder, I can't hear you.
Emerald White, can you all hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, Emerald White, Henry County Defects.
All right, and was that referral received by the department late Thursday evening, which would have been, I believe, the 24th of April?
Yes.
And the mother of those three children is whom?
Destiny Ortiz.
Who is the putative father of Diane?
Unknown.
Did you, when you made contact with the mother as part of your investigation, did she identify any individual as to the putative father for that child?
With the state that she did state that they're the dads of all of them, but she didn't disclose who the dad was. So all the children supposedly had the same father, according to mom.
All right, and who did the mother identify as the putative father of Wisdom and Zadian?
He did not identify.
After you received your referral, did you make contact with the mother of the children, Destiny Ortiz?
Yes, I did.
Where did you make contact with the mother?
At Piedmont Henry Hospital.
And during your investigation, what was the reason that the mother was at Piedmont Henry Hospital?
She stated she was in a manic state and she brought herself to the hospital.
I missed the last part.
She stated that she brought herself to the hospital because she had been seeing things.
Okay. And did the mother identify to you during your investigation where she and the children had been residing prior to her going to the hospital?
She stated she had been staying with her boyfriend at the time.
Okay. And where was that address located?
I'm unknown.
Yeah, I have not correct.
Yes, that's the address that no, is that in Georgia? I'm sorry. I can't hear you. Hold on one moment. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you not know what address she was
No, that
living?
is the correct address. I'm sorry. The address that we had on the intake was a different address. Yes, that's the correct address.
Okay, so the Stockbridge address is correct or incorrect?
Correct.
Okay. And is that address located in Henry County?
Yes, it is.
So tell the court, if you would, about the allegations of the referral that the department received with regards to the children in this case.
It stated that mom was placed on a 1013 and Wisdom and Zayden did not have a caregiver. Stated that mom brought herself into the hospital on 425 because of hallucinations, seeing shadows, and has not been to sleep in the past week. It stated that mom was admitted for anxiety and stating that she didn't want to hurt her kids.
Okay. What is it that brought the, so again, how did the mother end up at the hospital? I mean, did she go there voluntarily? Was she taken there as a result of some involvement with law enforcement?
She was on the side of the road asking for help, and law enforcement of the school brought her into the hospital.
All right. So what do you know about that, about the mother's incident at the school with law enforcement?
That's the only thing I know about that.
Okay. All right. So the mother was then at Piedmont Henry Hospital, and what was the outcome of the mother's admission to the hospital? Was she admitted to the hospital? Was she 1013? Was she released? What happened?
No, she was admitted that night to the hospital. She was waiting to speak to the therapist about being admitted.
When you spoke to the mother, what, if anything, did she disclose to you about the referral allegations?
She stated that she had been seeing a dog for the past week and no dog has been at her home. So she said that she was hallucinating and saw a dog constantly.
Was the mother experiencing any sort of hallucinations?
Are you asking at the hospital or prior?
Okay, I'm really having a hard time hearing you.
I'm sorry, was that prior to the hospital?
Experiencing. Was the mother experiencing hallucinations of either an auditory or visual nature?
Yes,
And what specifically was she seeing or hearing?
she said she saw a dog.
Okay. Did she also report that she heard voices?
Yes,
Okay. What did the mother tell you about that, if anything?
nothing.
When you spoke to, did you speak to anyone else at the hospital, medical providers or anything like that, or law enforcement?
Yes, I spoke to a medical provider.
Did any of those individuals report to you anything about the mother's mental health state?
No, other than she was being admitted.
Did Ms. Ortiz report to you of having a history of mental health issues?
Yes,
What has she previously been diagnosed with, if anything, to your knowledge?
PTSD complex and bipolar.
Was the mother reported to be on prescribed any medications to dealing with those?
No,
Was the mother then, as a result of her hospitalization, was she committed for into a psychiatric facility?
she was admitted to the hospital at the time.
Okay. After she was at the hospital, was she 1013 and sent to a psychiatric treatment facility of any kind for stabilization?
Unknown.
I'm sorry, no?
Unknown. So the last time I know, she was 1013 at the hospital, and she remained at the hospital.
When did you talk to the hospital last to determine where the mother was?
This morning, and they stated that she was no longer at the hospital, but did not confirm she was discharged.
Okay. When you say could not confirm she was discharged, did you ask if she had just left against medical advice?
No, because they didn't state that she was discharged. They
She
just
was
stated
discharged.
she was not discharged.
Prior to this morning, did you give Ms. Ortiz, the mother, notice of this morning's hearing in this court?
No,
Why not?
because I was unaware of the court date until Saturday.
Okay. What efforts did the department make to avoid removal of these children? Did the department locate any relatives or fictive kin in conjunction with possibly caring for the children after the mother's hospitalization?
Yes,
All right, and who did the department talk to?
the department spoke with a Brandy LaChance, and she is a friend of mine.
And who was that individual?
She's a friend of mine. So she's
Okay.
a friend of Miss Destiny Ortiz.
And what did she report to you about her ability to care for the children?
She stated that she would be able to, but she was not be able to get to the hospital as soon as I spoke with her. She stated she wasn't able to get to her right away.
And where was that? Where does that individual live that she couldn't get to the hospital?
Can you repeat that?
Where did that individual live that she couldn't get to the hospital to pick the children up?
In Augusta, Georgia.
Other than that person, did the department also reach out to Ms. Ortiz's father, Mr. Bailey,
Yes,
and he is the maternal grandfather of all three children?
yes.
Was his response when he was asked if he could care for the children?
I did not speak with him. Jennifer White did.
Tell us what Ms. White told you he said.
Other than the individual that you identified to, did you personally speak to any other relatives or fictive kin for possible placement?
Yes, I spoke with the maternal grandmother, Miss Charla Ortiz. I spoke with a Deidre Martinez, but that was afterwards. And I also spoke with Ashana Rios.
Did any of those individuals indicate that they were able to care for any of the 3 children?
The maternal grandmother was, but she stated she was in Rhode Island and would not know when she would be able to get a flight to Georgia.
So the maternal grandmother lives in Long Island, is that what you said?
No, in Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. Is the maternal grandmother willing to undergo an ICPC assessment of her home?
Unknown.
Did you also attempt to contact the mother's current boyfriend as to whether or not he would be able to come and care for the children?
Yes, I did.
And what was his response, if anything? Before we get to that, what's his name?
His name is Khalees Clark.
Okay. And what was his response when you asked if he was able to care for the children?
He stated he would not be able to care for the 2 boys because of his work schedule.
Okay. And what about with regards to Deani? What was his response about caring for her?
He stated he would be able to care for her because of his work schedule was changed because of her school schedule.
So he was not able to care for her because of his work schedule?
He would be able to care for her.
And what was his relationship again?
He was the mother's boyfriend.
Did you call him to find out where mom was?
No.
Well, it'd be a good idea if you found out where she was. You've got her kids and you haven't known since Saturday where she is. That's a problem for me.
Did you have any other questions, John? Otherwise, I was going to finish up.
No, go ahead.
So when the department requested custody on Friday, the mother was hospitalized with no known release date. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And was the mother able to care for the children based on her hospitalization on Friday?
No, she was not.
And was Ms. Jennifer White the individual who spoke to Mr. Cruz?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have any other questions for Ms. White, Emerald White, and I'm going to call Jennifer White here in a second, but if everybody else has cross.
Anybody else have any questions?
No, sir.
I do. If you could clarify, who's the person who lives in Augusta and is willing to take the children?
Brandy, she's a friend of mine. Of Ms. Ortiz.
Have you, you indicated that she couldn't get to the hospital immediately. Have you had the chance to contact her at this juncture to see whether she could make herself available?
No.
And to be clear, you said there was no notice of this hearing given to the mom?
No.
Okay. Now I want to clarify with respect to the mother's status, because I'm not clear whether you said that she's not at the hospital right now, but we don't, or do you not know whether or not she was discharged, or do you know that she was not discharged?
So when they're at the facility, as far as the hospital, they can't tell me. They can only tell me if she was discharged. When I spoke with the person, they stated that she was not at the hospital. But then she was discharged.
So you're assuming, based on him not stating that she was discharged, that she was not?
Correct.
And did the person you spoke with indicate to you that he would tell you if she had been discharged?
Yes, Miss. Yes. The hospital personnel stated they would say if she was discharged.
Okay. And so, let's see. But we don't know whether she was transferred or anything like that?
No, they wouldn't give me that information.
Okay. Now you mentioned her being on the side of the road, but it also indicates that she had driven herself and kind of presented herself to the hospital. Could you help me understand what exactly happened to bring her into the hospital's care?
So initially, when we received the report, it stated as if mom brought herself to the hospital. Once I got to the hospital and spoke with the medical personnel, they stated that a resource officer from a school that they did not identify actually called EMS and brought mom into the hospital.
Was she admitted for bipolar disorder, has a history of bipolar disorder and anxiety, but you mentioned in your testimony PTSD complex?
Correct.
So that was not included in the initial removal order. Is that something you learned later?
No, that was something that I initially knew from what mom told me when I asked about her disorders.
Okay, so mom told you that she had PTSD complex. So this comes from her, not from the medical personnel. Correct.
As far as what mom says, they didn't state that she had PTSD. But when I spoke to mom about her disorders or this diagnosis, is what she provided.
Okay. So I understand that let's see, Mr. Bailey. For Mr. Bailey, maternal grandfather, the department has not contacted him?
He was contacted, but not by me.
Okay. Do you know the outcome of that? Was he willing or not willing to take the children?
So from my conversation with my supervisor at the time, he stated that he was not able to accommodate their schedule because he worked and also did not have transportation.
Okay. Have you contacted Miss Reels about potentially taking the children?
Ms. Reels contacted me after the emergency protective order was provided.
And at this point, is she willing or not willing to take the children?
She was willing to take the kids.
All right. And there's a Deidre Martinez. Did you talk with her?
Yes.
Is she willing to take the children?
Yes.
Okay.
Where does she live?
Deidre lives, Ms. Martinez lives in Rhode Island, from my understanding.
I can't understand you. Repeat what you said, please.
Rhode Island.
So Deidre Martinez and Miss Ortiz are both in Rhode Island?
Yes.
Okay.
Charlotte Ortiz.
No, yeah, sorry to interrupt. No, I currently live in Suffield, Connecticut.
Okay.
Please don't interrupt again, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That goes for everybody.
All right. Is there anyone that the department, anyone else that the department has followed up with as far as potentially taking the children, or will follow up with as far as potentially taking the children?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. I think that's all I have for witness.
All right. The lady that, I'm sorry, I thought I wrote down your name, but if I did, I don't know where I put it. But the one that has the first name Shy, S-H-I-Y. What is your last name?
Reels.
Okay. I just don't know where. You were identified earlier. Where do you live?
I live in Muskogee County, Columbus, Georgia.
Okay. And how are you related to Ms. Ortiz?
I'm her first cousin.
Do these children know you?
Yes.
Are you offering yourself as somebody who they could come live with temporarily?
Absolutely.
Does anybody on this call know where mom is today?
No.
No, Your Honor.
Go ahead, Mr. Scrivani. You said you had another witness.
I do, Your Honor, Ms. Jennifer White. And where are you employed, Ms. White?
Henry County DFACS.
And are you a supervisor in the investigations unit of the CPS unit?
Yes.
And were you the supervisor for Ms. Emerald White with regards to the removal and the custody of the mother on early Friday morning?
Yes.
With regards to the court's question about notice of this hearing to the mother, can you tell the court and counsel what efforts the department made to notify the mother of this morning's hearing date and time?
So by the time we found out the court date and time, the mom was sedated while at the hospital. When I last checked midday Friday at the hospital, the mother was still sedated and they were still continuing to look for a mental health facility to place her in.
Was it the department's understanding that the mother would be subjected to an involuntary commitment order on a 1013 and be sent to a residential facility for stabilization on Friday?
Yes.
Was this morning when Ms. White, Emerald White, contacted Piedmont Henry Hospital, the first information that the department had received from the hospital that the mother was no longer there?
That's correct.
Did the department ask the Piedmont Henry to notify the department if the mother was moved or if she was discharged or anything like that?
I believe Emerald did ask. We are still waiting to speak with other hospital staff and the reporter source. However, we have not been able to reach them yet. So we haven't been able to speak with the direct staff that dealt with mom that night.
Would you tell the court what efforts, if any, you personally made to reach out to any individuals about possible placement of these children prior to the children being removed from the care of the mother on Friday?
I spoke with the maternal grandfather and I spoke with the biological father of Wisdom and Zayden.
And then the lady who just said she's the first cousin that lives in Muskogee County, was the department advised of her contact information and or name when you spoke with the mother on Friday?
When I spoke with the biological mother?
Well, when the department spoke with the mother, did anybody get that information from her as to that individual?
I'm not sure if the information was obtained from the mother. I do believe that we obtained some information from a previous case, but we did have that information.
And were you able to reach out to her on Friday before removal to see if she was willing to be a possible placement for these children?
Miss White reached out to her.
Okay. And why was she not considered for placement on last week?
To my understanding, when Miss White initially reached out to her, there was no answer. And by the time we got a call back, the children were already in foster care.
So is the department willing to look at her as a possible relative placement for these children if the children remain in the temporary custody of the Department of Family and Children Services?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's talk about Mr. Cruz, the father. He's already indicated that he was not married to the mother and he's not legitimated. Did you have any contact with Mr. Cruz about these children, his two children?
Yes.
All right. And what, if anything, did he tell you about his current ability to care for the children?
So he is currently residing in Indiana. So he was not able to get here quickly enough due to him being so far away.
Did Mr. Cruz report to you as to how long he's been residing in the state of Indiana?
He didn't give an exact time frame, but he did say that he just recently moved from Texas to Indiana.
Okay. And would Mr. Cruz be required to undergo an ICPC assessment to assess the potential suitability of his home for his children in the state of Indiana?
Yes.
When did Mr. Cruz report to you that he last had contact with either of his children, if he did?
It had been within the last couple of weeks. From what he says, that him and mom keep frequent contact, so he does have telephone contact with the children frequently.
Does this family have any previous child protective services history with the Department of Family and Children's Services here in Georgia?
They do.
Okay, and what was that for?
In October of last year, Wisdom had a seizure, and there was concerns that Wisdom was not properly secured in a car seat. Wisdom was actually with a family friend, so mom was not there when this occurred. And then there was another case, it was January of 2024, where there were concerns for Deani not having a leg brace and concerns for how mom was caring for the children.
For the January 2024 case, was that case substantiated or unsubstantiated?
It was unsubstantiated.
Were any services offered to the mother in that part of that case?
I don't recall.
In with regards to Deani, the oldest child, does the department have any information as to the identity of the father of that child?
No, sir.
No other questions from Ms. White, Jennifer Whitener.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. White?
No, sir.
No, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Skravanek?
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
All right. I'm going to go from the top left across to, I'm assuming that defects employees don't have anything to add since you didn't call them. Ms. Martinez, you live, they told me, but you're the one in Rhode Island?
No, Yana, I currently live in Sheffield, Connecticut.
Okay. All right. And how long have you lived there?
I've been living here since December 1st of 2023.
Okay. Do these children know you?
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Ms. Reels, where did you tell me you lived again?
Columbus, Georgia, Muskogee County.
You're in Columbus. And there was another family, the father, the putative father, Mr. Cruz, lives in, is it Indiana?
Yes, Michigan City, Indiana.
Okay. How about very slowly tell us your address that you received mail at? Okay.
4.
And you're going to be there for the foreseeable future?
Yes, but if I was to take the children, I would relocate closer to the family so that way I can have more help and the kids can be closer to the family. Because I move out here by myself.
And why did you move to Indiana? For employment?
I was anticipating Destiny to move to Michigan. So I wanted to be closer to the kids. So I came over here anticipating her move to Michigan soon. So I wanted to be here before she got here.
Okay. And you're right on the line, I guess. If you're
Yeah, and I have friends around here, so they got me a job and a place to stay. So
well, you folks that are family members, it's much appreciated that you're here, and it's much appreciated that you've expressed an interest in the children staying with you temporarily while mom gets back on her feet. But just so you're aware, I may be repeating what's already been explained to you. I can't send your kids to your states where you live now without that state first checking you out and giving you a stamp of approval. That's what's called an Interstate Compact for Placement of Children Assessment or Evaluation, ICPC for short. And because of the age of these children, it could be expedited, but it ain't expedited in my book because it still would take probably in excess of 2 months to have any of you checked out. Probably it usually takes 6 months, but they can expedite it with small children. But I have found it didn't get a whole lot shorter. And the further complication is assuming mom gets stable and gets released and wants to work a case plan to get her children back, and her children are, 3 states away. One of the biggest components of a reunification plan is steady, consistent contact with your kids. And if they're off in Timbuktu, it makes it awfully tough. I mean, we have people that don't live in the same part of the state of Georgia and have difficulty. That's the relative who lives in Muskogee County. a lot of the people we have transportation issues, and that doesn't mean we don't have to place kids sometimes. Sometimes we can't find foster parents who are registered with and approved by the state. We can't find them ideally in the county where we are. And I don't know where, Ms. Bunger, where are you located?
Henry County.
Oh, good. We got at
Yeah.
least one in Henry County, but we never have enough. But anyway, I'm glad you're, and if we will go that route, we have to check on relatives. I just wanted to give you a heads up. It's not going to be something that by the end of the week, we can do something about it. But first, we need to know what mom's situation is, what her prognosis is, and it's a good start. It's not a good start. You hate for anybody to have any kind of crisis in their life with small children, even especially mental health. But at least we have a mom who recognized that she was in distress and that she needed help. We have so many who don't either won't or don't recognize it or deal with it or confront it. So that speaks well and nobody can predict the future, but that speaks well for us being able to work with her and provide services to get her stable, to get her on the proper meds if she needs to be on meds, to get her hooked up with a continuum of mental health professionals who can offer her stable living so she can be a parent. Plenty of parents out there have the same conditions she has, and they are able to parent, usually with medication and professional assistance, but there's nothing wrong with that. And she at least recognizes that that's an issue that she's had to fight and be tormented by in the past. I'm sure she will appreciate knowing she's got family members who are offering to be of help. I just don't know right now, till we know more about her, what kind of help we're going to need and for how long. Did anybody have any questions for any of these family members, the putative father or the, where were you and Ms. Ortiz living when the kids were born? Were you here in Georgia or somewhere else?
We were in Rhode Island.
You were in Rhode Island. Okay.
I got called at 2:00 in the morning on Friday morning and was able to get in contact with Cheyenne to go get the kids because I was in a different state. But by the time I was able to get in contact with Cheyenne, it was too late and we couldn't. But if not, the kids would have been with us by now. Is that they called me at 2:00 in the morning to let me know that the kids were in. They're like, hey, we have you listed as a father and we're about to take the kids.
Well, they would have been allowed to release them to you, knowing when they found out you didn't live in Georgia.
No, yeah. But if I would have got called soon, like earlier in the day,
Yeah.
I would have been able to reach out to Cheyenne soon and she would have been able to at least go pick them up.
Sure. All right. Well, they're in good hands. There's always a benefit to having them with family members whom they know. But one thing I need to ask you, family members, before I forget it, there is a notation in the paperwork filed by DFACS that indicates that, let me make sure if it's just one child or if it was all of them, were of Native American / Hispanic race or heritage.
All three of them.
Okay. Do you know what American Indian tribe they're members of? Are they actually members of a tribe?
Deirdre
Yes, Your
explain that.
One person at a time.
Yes, Your Honor. We're Narragansett Indian. We're federally recognized. We're out of Charlestown, Rhode Island.
Hold on. You don't have a slow Southern drawl. You talk fast. Start over. I want to know the name of the tribe, and that's what I didn't understand.
Narragansett.
I've actually seen that, but I thought you said Narragansett, like there would be an A between the R and the G, but it's Narragansett.
Yes.
Narrgansett.
Yes.
are either parent or the children registered with the tribe?
The grandfather is registered with the tribe. There was issues, with Destiny as a younger child with the mom, where she didn't want to register her with the tribe.
Okay. So she did not register her children with the tribe?
No,
Okay. I don't know what effect that has, but we've had several cases that we didn't find out till way into the case that they had, because in certain circumstances, I know if they're registered, I don't know what happens if they're not registered, but the tribe has a right to intervene. And in some cases, I haven't actually had one that, the last one I had where we knew who the tribe was. The tribe didn't want to have anything to do with it. And they said, do what you got to do. But they have a right to be on notice and the right to intervene. And if these children are recognized by the tribe as members, and I don't know whether that requires the formal registration or not. We just don't have ICWA, which is Indian Child Welfare Act, which is federal legislation that governs this. We don't deal with it often enough for me to be an expert about it. Mr. Skowronek has expertise in it. So I'm going to count on him to find out if we have to give the requisite notice to that tribe, and because we have to do it sooner than later.
I can read.
Your Honor, and I think they'll be reaching out to them.
I'm sorry?
I said, I think the department will be reaching out to that tribe to determine whether or not they want to be a part of this case. I've had some experience, not with this particular tribe, but with the Cherokee Nation out in Oklahoma on a couple of cases.
Well, on the page, on the, I don't know whether it's third or fourth page of the complaint, where it asks, is the child subject to the Indian Child Welfare Act? Whoever filled it out didn't answer it yes or no. So it may be that you don't know yet, but you need to be finding out. They actually, I mean, they are subject to that act until we find out otherwise, as far as I'm concerned.
Your Honor, I did want to ask a couple of quick questions for Ms. Reels.
Okay. We got 3 minutes.
All right.
I've got a termination in 4 minutes. Go ahead.
Ms. Reels, you live in Georgia, correct?
Yes.
Do you have plans to stay in Georgia for the foreseeable future?
Oh, yes.
Is your work schedule such that you could get Deani to school?
Yes.
And could provide or obtain childcare for Wisdom and Zayden?
Yes.
Do you have sufficient bedrooms in your house to house the children?
Yes.
And you want to be considered as a placement for the children?
Yes.
All right. That's all.
Whether you express an interest in being checked out through ICPC or through our local people, when you live inside the state, just so you're not offended. It's nothing personal. It doesn't matter where you live, who you are, how you're related. They're going to want to drug screen you. They're going to want you to be fingerprinted so they can get a thorough criminal background check. They will be checking records where you've lived to find out if you have any prior interaction with child welfare authorities in this state or other states. They'll then physically inspect your home for safety issues, food, that utilities are on and all that stuff. That sounds, weird, but they do check all of that. So don't be alarmed or don't be offended. If you're offended, there's nothing we can do about it, because you can't get approved without undergoing that type of inspection, because you basically will be a representative of the state who has temporary custody of the child, and they don't want to place the child with somebody that doesn't check out. Okay?
Okay, I understand.
So that's for the children that you want to take care of, that you're related to. That's for their protection. All right. Well, thank you for everybody's time. The court finds probable cause to believe that children are dependent and that it would be contrary to their welfare to be returned to mom at this time, since, among other things, we don't know where mom is. We think she's hospitalized still, but we're not sure. We need to be finding out pronto. And that reasonable efforts were made to avoid removal of the children by checking with family members. And I understand, Dad, it doesn't make you feel any better. They called me at 3 or 4 in the morning. So they called me after they called you. So short notice, but y'all stay in touch with Ms. Ms. Emerald White. Okay. And hopefully that she can share with you how the mom is doing and what her prognosis is when we figure it out. Okay?
Okay.
Y'all take care.
You too.
Thank you, Judge.
We'll conclude the hearing.